Aloha, and welcome to another edition of the Collector's Corner. I am your host, Aloha Mr. Hand, the notorious man of questionable character, and this is brought to you by our good friends at the Tainted Glove Network. Now, the Collector's Corner was started as a result of the pandemic and me attempting to get my arms around all of the memorabilia that I had built up over the years. And there was a lot more there than I realized, and some things I found that I haven't looked at in 20 some odd years, things like that. So, this is me sort of showing some of that stuff off because I think it's cool, and hopefully, some of you think it's cool as well. So, with that, why don't we go ahead and get started? Now, today's subject is regarding my favorite player of all time, Johnny Bench. And I know several of you have heard me say that ad nauseum, so you're not surprised by it. But Johnny Bench is my favorite player of all time, and as such, I have collected many a piece of memorabilia of Mr. Bench, and several things autographed by Mr. Bench as well. Having met him on numerous occasions, including playing in his golf outing twice, he is a great guy to talk to, very down to earth. You would never believe it's Johnny Bench, the Hall of Famer. Talking to him because he likes to have a good time. He likes to laugh. So, with that being said, why don't we go ahead and get started? First thing I want to show off is a couple of plates that I got years ago that I finally got him to autograph. And this is the first one, and this is just him per se. You can see his autograph right there. Got him to sign this in Rosemont. Couple years ago he was appearing at one of the shows, so I got him to sign it there. This one is really interesting because it's a dual plate, and it's for one of the most famous moments in baseball history. Game 6, 1975 World Series, the Carlton Fisk home run. People forget that Johnny Bench was behind the plate when Fisk hit that home run. So I do have both of them having signed this. You could see Bench right there. You can see Fisk right there. So I love this piece, and I do have a painting of Fisk's home run with Bench and Rose in the background. Bench behind the plate. Pete Rose was playing third base, and I do have a postcard that has been autographed by Carlton Fisk, Fred Lynn, who was in the on-deck circle for the Red Sox, and also Bench. Pete Rose was at third, Davey Concepcion at short, Joe Morgan at second, and Tony Perez at first. So you're talking about a postcard that is autographed by 4 Hall of Famers, and the all-time hit king too. The Hall of Famers being Fisk, Bench, Perez, and Morgan, and of course Pete Rose being the hit king. And it wouldn't surprise me if someday Davey Concepcion makes it to the Hall of Fame as well, for his defense and him being a integral piece of that Big Red Machine. And for those of you who don't know the Big Red Machine, basically the Big Red Machine was the Cincinnati Reds teams of the 1970s, and it really formed in 75 when you had George Foster go out to left field and Pete Rose move from left field to third base. You had Cesar Geronimo in center. You had Ken Griffey Sr., yes, Junior's dad, Ken Griffey Sr., out in right field. You had Tony Perez at first, Joe Morgan at second, David Concepcion at short, Pete Rose at third, and of course Johnny Bench behind the plate. That was that squad, that core, if you will, is called the Great Eight. And they were the ones who powered the Cincinnati Reds throughout the 70s to back-to-back World Series titles in 75 and 76. Also went to the World Series in 70 and 72 and lost 70 to the Orioles, 72 to the Oakland A's. Lost in the 73 NLCS to the New York Mets, and then lost in the 79 NLCS to the Pittsburgh Pirates. They also played the Pirates 3 times in the 70s in the playoffs, 70, 72, and 75, and beat them each time as well. The Pirates were a powerhouse back then. You had the days of Roberto Clemente up through 72. Then you had Willie Stargell there. Dave Parker came along shortly after Clemente's untimely passing, and they were really the core, the power behind the Pittsburgh Pirates, the Pittsburgh Lumber Company of the 1970s. But moving on, a little baseball history lesson there. So I got several things. Another one is a Hall of Fame postcard of the plaque that has To Pete, my number one fan, signed by Johnny Bench. Yes, you'll see a theme here. And one of the things I have done with the Hall of Fame is there was a restoration project to digitize photos of Johnny Bench throughout his career. Because some of them were still negatives and things like that. So I worked with the Hall of Fame, donating to them to help get that accomplished. This is a picture they sent me as a result of that I did manage to get him to autograph separately. You can see To Pete, best wishes, Johnny Bench. It's a great photo. So, moving on to more stuff. As I said, the Cincinnati Reds won the World Series in 75 and 76. Pete Rose was the World Series MVP in 1975. And in 1976, Johnny Bench was the World Series MVP. This is the November 1, 1976 Sports Illustrated cover. How good are the Reds? This is a result of them sweeping the New York Yankees in the World Series, winning Game 4 at Yankee Stadium, where Johnny Bench hit 2 home runs in that game to seal the victory for the Reds. This item here is the first item I don't know if it's the first or one. It is definitely one of the first items I ever sent through the mail to a player to get signed. And that was in the late 70s when I was a stupid kid. That's why it's only the cover here. And he did sign it and send it back to me. It took several months, mind you, but he did sign it and send it back. And I did have PSA authenticate it, as you can see the PSA authentication there, to make sure that it was actually his signature, because some other things that I had done back then, which came back signed, but it looks like they took a rubber stamp and just stamped the card. Reggie Jackson being one of those, by the way. But so moving on. Now, as you know, I am a golfer too. I wouldn't say I'm good, but I'm a golfer too. So this item I had to get because it's just so freaking unique. It is a Johnny Bench Hall of Fame Golf Classic pin flag. And you can see here, it is autographed by Mr. Bench. So my intention is to one day have this framed and hang it in my office as a display of honor, I guess. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. But so moving on. As you know, I'm also a big baseball card collector. So, of course, in my collection, I have to have the 1968 Topps rookie card of one Johnny Bench. It is rated a 5, an excellent 5. As you can see the rating there. That it's on a scale of 1 to 10. 5 is sort of means it's a good card, not a great card, it's a good card. 10 means is what's called gem mint. That basically means no one ever breathed on it, for God's sakes. As you go up in the ratings, as you go up 5, 6, 7, so on and so forth, it gets more and more pricey to get those cards. And this stack, you see, I'm not going to show all of you, is all of the cards issued during his playing career. And this includes Topps from 1968 through 1980. And then in 81, you had Donruss and Fleer join the party as well. So all of those are graded. I have the entire set here. I'm not going to show all of them. But moving on. So, of course, I got a couple baseballs autographed by him. One is what's called a stat ball. And that basically lays out an autograph from him, as well as all his career stats. You see 10-time Gold Glove. Franchise 4, that was done in 2015 when they had it at the All-Star Game in Cincinnati. The All-Century team in 1999. Let's see what else we got there. 76 World Series MVP, 14-time All-Star. You know, we had the Gold Gloves already. Rookie of the Year, 68. MVP, 70 and 72. This is what's called a stat ball. So it has all his major career accomplishments, if you will, on it. So that's one of the prize items in my collection as well, since he's one of my favorite players. Now, this is where my fandom really peaks, because this is my favorite player at one of my favorite places in the world. Johnny Bench retired after the 1983 season. So in 1983, he participated in the All-Star Game at Old Comiskey Park, which I have a 50th anniversary All-Star Game ball signed by him with Final ASG, Final All-Star Game. He did make an appearance there. So talk about worlds colliding. Now, next item is something I plan on having framed at some point in the future. It is an autographed replica, mind you, Cooperstown, or a Mitchell and Ness, I should say, jersey of Johnny Bench, his number 5. I would have preferred it on the back on the number, but beggars can't be choosers. So there it is. It's signed in the front right there underneath the Reds logo. This is the popular Reds logo from the 70s. This is what their home uniform looked like. This is a replica of the 1975 jersey. Would have liked the 76 because he was World Series MVP, but 75 is what I got. As I mentioned, I am a golfer. I have met him on a few occasions. So I did manage to get this hat from the Johnny Bench Golf Classic. It's out in Florida. They just announced the dates for this year. You're going to have to go do some sleuthing to see when it is, because I'm not going to give that up. So you're on your own on that one. Now, as you know, Johnny Bench was a catcher. So, with that being said, this is the catcher's mitt that I had as a kid. The Johnny Bench model. As I said, I was a catcher as a kid because I love the position. He was my favorite player. I wanted to be like him. I wore number 5. And also, they also call me Engelbert. If you've seen the Bad News Bears, you get that reference too. I also have a autographed Johnny Bench Hall of Fame 89 catcher's mitt. You can see, let me turn it around here so you can get a better shot. You can see there, Johnny Bench HOF 89. It's a small mitt. I doubt this is his model, but I came across it at an auction, so I jumped on it because it's going to be part of a display I'm going to put together at some point when I get around to it. A couple things I want to get squared away before I do, but that is the plan. Now, finally, I have a unique piece, 2 unique pieces, I should say. Same thing, but there's one big difference. So, about a year ago, they came out with replica Hall of Fame plaques that you could buy. So, of course, I got me the Johnny Bench one. But not many of these exist. The reason being, if you look closely where it says both sides of late, right in there, it should say both sides of plate. It is a typo. It is wrong. Now, you could say, oh, sure, they probably never fixed it. That's what this one is. As you can see, it says both sides of plate. So I have both versions of that plaque. Now, as I told you, Johnny Bench is is my favorite player of all time. That's why I'm showing off all this stuff. And this is not everything I have of his. So I have bobbleheads as well, so on and so forth. Yes, I'm a dork. I'm a geek. Go ahead and say it. But there's a couple other things I want to show off that I think are really cool that I know some people, Wally Money, will get jealous about. One. And then I showed off the other thing to some people, and they could not guess who it was. So the first thing that I'm going to show off that I know Wally Money was very jealous of when he saw it was this. That is a Ken Griffey Jr. autographed baseball. I have my ways of getting these things, I'll just say that. But why do I show Ken Griffey Jr.? Ken Griffey Sr. was the right fielder for the Big Red Machine. Think about it. He was in that clubhouse as a kid. He got to hang out with all those guys. Now, the other item is something really cool, something really different, and I'm going to show it to you and see if you can guess what it is. It is a World Series 2020 baseball, and it is signed by someone. I show it because it's a World Series, and I mentioned the 75-76 World Series as well. This baseball, let me show it again. This baseball is signed by Magic Johnson, who is one of the owners of the Los Angeles Dodgers, who won the 2020 World Series during the abbreviated season because of COVID. So yes, I have a 2020 World Series signed baseball by Magic Johnson. Again, I have my ways of getting these things. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't seen it yet, we did record a new episode of the Tainted Glove podcast last night on Monday. I'm recording this on Tuesday during the Sox game, and they're losing 2-0 right now of the second game of the doubleheader. So it is May 17th today, so the Podcast was recorded on Monday, May 16th. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot me a message. If you want to see if I have anything, feel free to shoot me a message, and we'll see what I can dig up. Thanks a lot, everyone. Have a great day. And with that, aloha.